Fiancé left me due to my cancer diagnosis. I left her destitute. This story begins 4 years ago, and while the sting has faded, the memory remains vivid. We dated for 4 years, and I thought we had a great relationship. We were both established professionals, each with our own homes in the same neighborhood, and both had daughters living with us. Her daughter was 11, and mine was 16 when we met. We had plans to marry, build a house, and raise our daughters together. She had recently been diagnosed with a neurological disease that would eventually require her to use a wheelchair, so we were designing a home that would be ADA friendly. I invested around $30,000 into her house, doing landscaping and construction to increase its resale value. We had an agreement that I would be paid upon the sale of her home, but I never pushed for it. Fast forward 6 months. We were looking at properties and finalizing drawings for our new home when I started feeling unwell. I couldn't eat, was constantly vomiting, and noticed blood. My abdomen became swollen, which was unusual since we both maintained healthy lifestyles. I went to the doctor, and during this time, she began experiencing cognitive issues due to stress at work, leading her to take a pay cut. After a month of tests, I learned I had a golf ball-sized tumor in my stomach and would need chemotherapy. As I began treatment, she spent more time at my place, helping me out. I suggested we sell one of our homes and move in together until our new house was built. I had good insurance and a long-term illness plan, which would ease our financial burden. But shortly after that conversation, she grew distant. Her daughter stopped spending time with mine, and she made excuses to avoid seeing me. Then came the shocking text. I love you, but I can't see myself taking care of someone this sick in the long term. I don't think we should see each other anymore. It broke me. I had opened my heart to her after losing my wife when my children were so young. The next day, I packed her things neatly and left them on her porch to avoid an awkward encounter. As I walked around to the back, I saw her on the couch with a man she had introduced as a lifelong friend. I had shared meals and vacations with them. I chose not to confront her and simply texted that her belongings were on my porch. Months later, I learned from his ex-girlfriend that they had been involved for some time, right around when we were finalizing our plans. I was furious and felt a need for revenge. I had finished my treatments and was feeling better when I found a file containing $32,680 in unpaid invoices for the work I had done on her home. I sent them to my attorney to start lien proceedings. It turned out I acted just in time. She was about to sell her house. With interest and attorney fees, she ended up with about $10,000 after selling her home, forcing her to back out of buying another and move in with her daughter and grandchildren. She even had to leave her job and go on disability. I ran into her a year later, and she looked like she had aged 20 years, now in a wheelchair. We exchanged brief pleasantries, and I moved on. A few days later, her younger daughter reached out, wanting to hang out. I gave a vague answer and continued with my life. Then her ex called to apologize for how she left me. I thanked her for the call, but kept it short. She started texting me, and after a few weeks, she asked if we could rekindle our relationship. I replied, I can't see myself taking care of someone so sick in the long term. Remember the box on your porch? Did you think your friend brought that over from my house? Good luck to you. Goodbye. Sometimes I feel a twinge of guilt over this, but not often. My mother-in-law almost broke our marriage after staying with us during my postpartum period. It was truly entitled behavior. My husband and I had a disagreement about who should stay with us after the birth of our baby. His mom, my mom, or both. We needed a grandmother's help for childcare and new mom care. My mother-in-law has a knack for finding flaws in everything and often plays the victim. She constantly broods about how unfair life has been to her, comparing herself to others and criticizing women who have undergone C-sections, calling them weak. When our daughter was born, both my mom and mother were at our house. I needed my mom because I felt more comfortable with her during this vulnerable time. My baby struggled to latch, and I ended up using a pump. One day, my mother-in-law saw me pumping and laughed, calling me a cow. I was already feeling emotional and sleep-deprived, and her comment hit me hard. I couldn't help but feel resentment toward my husband for exposing me to this emotional turmoil just to keep his mom happy. I broke down in front of him after the cow comment, and while he was furious with his mom, he didn't confront her directly. I felt increasingly distant from him, as his life hadn't changed while I was struggling with so many physical and emotional challenges. Despite my husband's attempts to comfort me, his mom's presence felt suffocating. She found humor in my pain, downplaying my struggles and constantly bringing up her own daughter's postpartum experience. I felt trapped, pumping every few hours while dealing with physical discomfort and emotional distress. After 45 days, my mother-in-law finally left, wanting to show off her time spent with us. It was a relief. I didn't even say, "Visit us soon," because I was worried she might take it as an invitation to return. I still carried a lot of anger about her comments, like how I wasn't the only working woman who had given birth, and how I needed to look after the baby every second. I decided to undergo therapy, which has brought me so much peace. I learned to judge people by their actions rather than their words. My Mill's treatment of me during my most vulnerable moments was eye-opening. I realized I needed to protect myself and my marriage from her influence. My husband recognized his mistake in not prioritizing me during that time and apologized sincerely. Although I couldn't breastfeed directly, pumping became a blessing in disguise. It allowed me to establish a sleep schedule for my baby, ensuring she got enough milk during the day and slept well at night. After this stressful phase, my husband set appropriate boundaries with his mom. He understands that her behavior could have jeopardized our marriage, and I'm grateful he took action. If you're a new mom and exclusively pumping, don't let anyone, especially your MIL, make you feel less of a mother. AITA for crafting during meetings. I work in an office where we have a lot of meetings, video conferences, and online training sessions. Due to my ADHD, I've always needed something to do with my hands to help me focus. Ironically, I also have dyslexia, which makes it hard for me to concentrate on things that aren't visual. I've been crocheting and knitting since I was little. It's something I enjoy doing while watching TV or movies at home because it helps me stay focused. Back in university, I would crochet during lectures, and my professors encouraged it as long as it helped me concentrate. So I decided to bring my crafting to work. I thought it might help me stay engaged during our long meetings, which can last up to 4 hours. I had even mentioned my focus issues to my manager, who suggested finding something to keep my hands busy. So I felt confident in my decision. At first, it worked well. I was more involved and retained more information. But then a colleague approached me and asked me to stop. He claimed it was rude and disrespectful to everyone in the meeting, including the service users we were discussing. I tried to explain that crafting actually helped me stay on track, but he remained firm in his stance. I don't need to look down at my work constantly, as I've been doing it for so long. I bring simple projects that don't require much attention, and I always set my work aside to take notes or participate in discussions. Despite my efforts to explain, my colleague threatened to escalate the issue to management if I continued. This worried me, especially since I had already cleared it with my manager. To clarify, the meetings are not large gatherings. There are usually about 6 to 15 of us, and it's a casual setting where we discuss plans for our service users. They aren't present during our meetings, so I'm aware of the professional boundaries. I keep my crafting on my lap, and the projects are small and discreet. When we meet in person, I crochet quietly, and I only knit during online meetings because it's a bit more involved. I'm not on medication for my ADHD due to side effects that make it difficult for me to work full-time, which I love. I'd rather manage it without medication than be unwell and unable to do my job. I appreciate the suggestions for other fidget options, and I plan to discuss this with my manager at our next meeting. I want to ensure everyone feels comfortable, but I also want to advocate for my needs. It's important to remember that ADHD and similar conditions don't work like a switch you can just turn off. If anyone has ideas on how to help me focus without fidgeting, I'm all ears. I was bullied by teachers and recently found out why. I became a teacher 4 years ago, and as a new educator, I was excited to collaborate with my colleagues. I quickly bonded with the teachers in my small department, Regina, Gretchen, and Karen. We shared meals, attended each other's events, and I felt lucky to be part of such a supportive team. But shortly after the holiday break, I noticed Regina began avoiding me. She dismissed my lesson ideas. and the others quietly agreed with her. At first, I thought she was just having a rough time, but as the months passed, the atmosphere became increasingly uncomfortable. I dreaded waking up each day, knowing I had to go to a place where I felt unwelcome. When the new school year started, I hoped for a fresh start. I thought perhaps the previous year's stress had affected their behavior. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Regina ignored me even more, engaging with Gretchen and Karen while leaving me out of conversations. I started hiding in the library to escape the anxiety of being in the office. One day, while I was in the library, Karen found me and mentioned that the department was throwing a birthday party for Regina. I decided to contribute by bringing bagels, wanting to be a team player. But when I arrived at the party, it felt as if I wasn't even there. I stood in the corner, tears welling in my eyes as I realized I was unwanted. Regina and Gretchen ignored me completely, and I felt a part of me break that day. From then on, I avoided the office altogether, choosing to work in the library where I felt safe. Fast forward to now, I've grown accustomed to my routine. Recently, Karen approached me and apologized for not standing up for me when Regina and Gretchen were unkind. I was taken aback. I had thought I was imagining their treatment, but Karen revealed that they had been targeting me on purpose for years. She explained that it all stemmed from a school event where I accidentally gave the wrong change to a student. Regina claimed I could have gotten her in trouble, and from that moment on, I was dead to her. Gretchen, wanting to align with Regina, joined in on the bullying. All of this over a minor mistake that had been resolved that same night. What's even more ironic is that Karen is now facing similar treatment from Regina and Gretchen. It's a strange twist of fate, knowing we teach our students to stand against bullying and to resolve conflicts peacefully. Life has a way of revealing the truth, doesn't it? Oh my God, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I ordered a few samples directly from Leur Addison Parfumeur, and to my shock, there was a bug in the sample vial. I couldn't believe my eyes. The little brown bug was just sitting there in the transparent bottle. At first, I thought, is this some sort of strange addition to the scent? After I reached out to customer service, they responded pretty quickly. They wanted me to send a video because they couldn't believe it themselves. I was asked to return the sample for further investigation, and I planned to document everything with photos and videos before I sent it back. Weeks went by with no updates, and I started to feel impatient. I reached out again, and they apologized for the delay, explaining that the situation was unusual and required more time to resolve. They assured me that my case was a top priority and that they were taking it very seriously. Finally, I received news that the investigation was complete. They had implemented new procedures to ensure this wouldn't happen again. However, they didn't disclose exactly how the bug ended up in the vial. They did offer to send me a perfume of my choice as an apology. I asked for Eau de Lude, or if possible, Minuit à Paris, which is a Paris exclusive I had been dying to try. When my parcel arrived, I was blown away. Not only did they send me the Minuit à Paris, but they also included a bottle of Eau de Lude and a 10-milliliter travel spray of Musk Amarante, the very perfume that started this whole ordeal. I truly didn't expect such generosity, especially since it was just a sample I ordered. It felt amazing to be appreciated as a customer. I might post another update if I get any more details from the company. Something happened, but I can't really explain to anyone. Hi there. I'm a 17-year-old girl, and I've been grappling with some memories that I just can't seem to shake. You should know that when I sleep, I'm often aware of my surroundings. I can tell if someone walks into my room, even while I'm asleep. I had a rough childhood, often in and out of the hospital due to issues with my legs, but I'm fine now. When I was around 11 or 12, my family had a reunion at our village home, and all my cousins were there. One cousin, who was 5 years older than me, was like a big brother. We would watch cartoons together. But one day, while we were lying on the bed, he suddenly hovered over me, his knees and hands on either side. He started touching my thighs and legs, and I froze. He told me, "Don't move much. This will help you." I didn't know how to process it. I had been taught that touching private parts was wrong, but this didn't feel like that, so I didn't say anything. I just felt that whatever he did was wrong. The second incident happened later when my parents and relatives went out for a wedding. We were at my cousin's house again, and I decided to hang out with his younger brother, who was just a few months older than me. While we were watching cartoons, he asked, "Can I touch your stomach?" I was taken aback and asked why. He quickly backed off, saying, never mind." Again, I didn't tell anyone because I didn't know how to explain it. It felt wrong, but I stayed silent. The third incident was even more shocking. I was in my own home, sleeping in my room, while my parents and younger brother were in theirs. I woke up to someone pulling my pants down a bit from behind. I turned around to see my brother, sitting on my bed, looking scared, with a phone in his hand. Without thinking, I snatched the phone and saw that he had taken a picture of me. I was horrified. My heart raced as I deleted the photo, even from the trash. He acted like nothing was wrong, and I didn't know how to confront him since I had erased the evidence. I know it sounds foolish to stay silent after all of this, but I grew up in a family where boys were often prioritized. I felt like I needed proof before I could tell anyone about the behavior of my brothers. Most of the time, I just froze in those moments. Now, when I look back, I wonder if these memories are real or just something my mind made up. I appreciate all the support I've received, but I'm terrified of confronting them or telling my parents. What if they deny it because it happened years ago? I've replayed these moments in my mind countless times, and I still don't know what to do. My dad is furious that my mom slept with other people in an open marriage he wanted. My parents got married when they were very young. My dad and mom were rushed into it after she got pregnant. My grandfather helped my dad set up a business in a big city, and we moved there shortly after I was born. My mom grew up in a conservative southern town where she was taught to be a submissive wife. Even after moving to the city, she didn't socialize much. She had no friends and rarely went out. My dad was often away on business, providing for us but not really being there as a husband or father. As I grew up, I became my mom's confidant. I encouraged her to make friends and find hobbies. After a lot of pushing, she started visiting a nearby park and eventually made her first friend, a gym trainer. With their support, she joined the gym and began to build a social life, but she still confided in me about everything. About a year ago, my dad asked my mom for an open marriage. He claimed he was unhappy and that she wasn't giving him everything he wanted. My mom, who held strong Christian values, was devastated and shared her tears with me. I suggested she consider divorce, but she didn't believe in it and refused to be the one to end their marriage. As my dad pushed for this arrangement, I knew it wouldn't end well if my mom agreed. With encouragement from her friend and me, she reluctantly agreed, but only if they promised to be completely open with each other. My dad, now in his early 40s, was a middle-aged man with a bit of a belly, while my mom, at 39, was athletic and fit. I helped her create online dating profiles, and after several months of chatting, she began to hook up with a few people. This newfound attention boosted her confidence, and she seemed happier. Meanwhile, my dad quickly connected with his secretary, but struggled to find other partners. They maintained their agreement of transparency, and my mom shared her experiences with him. A few weeks ago, my dad lashed out at my mom over a minor issue. Normally, she would have apologized, but with her newfound confidence, she stood her ground. Since then, their arguments have escalated. My dad makes snide remarks about her appearance, and though he nearly called her something terrible, he stopped himself. I think the reality of their open marriage is finally hitting him. My mom told me he tried to discuss ending the arrangement, but she firmly rejected the idea. I have a feeling they might split up. It's strange to think about, considering my dad was never really there for either of us. I don't feel sorry for him, but I wish he had put more effort into our family. On the other hand, I'm genuinely happy for my mom. A few days after my last post, my dad left home and served my mom with divorce papers. He told my grandparents about the situation, implying that my mom had been unfaithful. They came over and began berating her. I had kept screenshots of all their communications, and when my mom showed them, it only made things worse. Soon after, my mom's old church friends showed up. Back when she attended church, they looked down on her for being from a small town. After meeting her gym friends, she stopped going to church altogether. These friends called her hurtful names and she eventually kicked them out. My mom, who is currently focused on her fitness, has defined abs and arms, which led to even more cruel comments, including accusations of having a man body. Thankfully, her trainer friend has been a great support. She connected my mom with a divorce attorney and has been there for her during this tough time. It turns out the business my dad has been running is actually owned by my mom. It was set up by her father in her name, so it belongs to her. I had no idea until now, thinking my dad owned it. The whole situation is a mess. My dad is staying in a hotel, and my grandparents left after a week of trying to force my parents back together. I know there's more drama to come with the divorce, but for now, I hope things calm down. My ex's girl bestie learned what it's like to not be the hottest girl in the room. Okay, so this might sound a bit petty, but it's kind of funny, so I thought I'd share. Back in the day, I was in love with a guy we'll call Jay. He treated me poorly, and I've heard it all before. Embarrassing, but I learned from it and moved on. Jay had a girl bestie named Amy, who was one of the most passive-aggressive people I've ever met. She was super mean to me, and at the time, I was a bit heavier, which made her comments sting even more. Jay always sided with her, brushing off her bullying as just joking, or that's just how she is. It was a nightmare. We fought about it constantly, and he often called me insecure, which, to be fair, I was. We broke up years ago, and I haven't heard from him since. To me, when it's over, it's over. But recently, I met up with an old friend who was part of Jay and Amy's circle. She used to date one of Jay's best friends, but they split recently, thanks to Amy as well. We've kept in touch, but I always asked her not to share any details about Jay. Now, I'm recently engaged, yay, and out of the blue, Jay reached out to me on a new Instagram account, asking if we could talk. I didn't respond and have no plans to because there's nothing to discuss after 4 years. I mentioned this to my friend, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I have so much tea to spill, but I didn't want to cross any boundaries." I was curious, so I asked her to share. Apparently Jay and Amy never dated, but their relationship was always strange. It was clear Jay had feelings for her, but Amy enjoyed the attention without reciprocating. Amy is attractive, but she has that hottest girl in a small town vibe. We all lived in a small town at the time, so she was the center of attention. Then a woman named Scarlett, who looks a bit like Scarlett Johansson, moved to town temporarily. She met Jay at a bar, and they hit it off. I'm not sure if it was romantic for her, but Jay was definitely trying to impress her, and it seemed like he might have had a chance. My friend sent me pictures of Scarlett, and she's stunning, like a former model. Truly beautiful, no matter where you go. Suddenly, Amy was outshined. Amy got mad and tried to assert her dominance, but Scarlett wasn't having it. Jay went into a frenzy because he knew he'd probably never meet someone like Scarlett again. After their first meeting, Scarlett ghosted him completely, which I admire. Jay lost it and spilled all of Amy's secrets, tearing her apart verbally. She responded with just as much venom, and their friendship crumbled. Now, their friend group is shattered, and I can't help but feel a bit of joy knowing Amy finally got a taste of her own medicine. It's amusing to see Jay lose someone so amazing. This is a lesson for anyone who lets a guy prioritize other women. If he truly cares about you, he'll fight for you. If he's dismissing your feelings, it's time to move on. I've found my prince, who appreciates me for who I am. I may not be the cutest girl in the room, but that doesn't matter. I'm so much more than that. So, hold your head high and invest your energy in those who truly deserve it. I think I was always the leftover friend, and now I don't want to invite any of them to my wedding. I'm 24 and I've known my friend group since college, both guys and girls. Most of them ended up marrying their college partners, while I was always single. I've struggled with dating for years. I don't share the same ethnic background as them, and honestly, I never felt as attractive as everyone else. I tried to improve myself. I hit the gym hard for 3 years, changed my appearance, and worked on my confidence. I look better now, but dating never really got easier. In 5 years, I went out with about 5 women, but none of those situations lasted past 3 dates. They all told me I was kind and respectful, but they didn't feel a spark. Hearing that became a familiar sting. For most of the time I knew this group, we partied and hung out. I thought they were my people, but I slowly realized I was always the left out guy. The third wheel, the one they could poke fun at without consequences. I didn't quite belong because I didn't have a partner. Recently, I started working in a male-dominated field, making it even harder to meet women. I tried dating apps and had some small success, mostly with women who appreciated my fitness and music. But things would fall apart once they met my friends. In desperation, I once asked the women in my group if they could introduce me to someone. I thought that meeting someone through a shared social circle might help. They told me the girls they knew were beyond me and didn't even try to hide it. It felt dismissive, especially since those women weren't any different from me on paper. They refused to help, and I realized they didn't actually respect me. I was just the guy they called to fill space or tease at parties. At the gym, I was ridiculed for being weak, while others received praise for their dedication after hiring personal trainers. One couple even implied my life was incomplete because I was single, despite my support for them. When their wedding came around, I chose not to go. I didn't want to be the lonely one again, and they told everyone I was terrible for skipping it. Recently, I asked someone I was dating why she pulled away. She said meeting my friends made her uncomfortable. She liked me, but didn't want to be dragged into that dynamic. We reconnected a few months later, talked honestly, and now we're planning to get married. I haven't spoken to my old friend group in 8 months, and I'm genuinely happier without them. The peace is real. But here's my dilemma. I don't want to tell them about my wedding. I don't want them there. I'm scared too. I'm only 24. What if I end up with no friends later? What if cutting them off means starting from scratch again? I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, but I needed to get this off my chest. Thank you all for listening. I realize now that I've been seeking validation from my friends for too long. I will honor my partner, who has a better sense of people. Despite my shortcomings, I will always strive to be truthful and supportive of her. Thank you, friends.